Okay. Hello there. The Hamas supporters want war. They want to destroy Israel and eradicate the Jews from the Middle East, if not the planet. But Trump wants to offer a peaceful way out, where Gazans relocate to a better life, a life of peace and prosperity within a society they can identify with, while clearing out all the rubble, munitions and dangerous remnants of war from the Gaza Strip and turning it into a US-owned beachfront success. You only have to take one look at Gaza to realise that because of Hamas, it is now an uninhabitable wasteland and will probably be that for decades. Any Gazans staying there will just get more resentful. So I know which I think has the greatest chance of bringing long-term peace. What do you think, Richard?
Absolutely there, Jeff. I'm looking at... Funny, if you mention the munitions, I'll just go on to something here in the BBC. It says here, Trump made his millions as a property developer, and with that hat on, made a perfectly valid observation. If Gaza is to be rebuilt from scratch in some places, it makes more sense for hundreds of thousands of civilians to be sheltering. It doesn't make any sense for them to be sheltering in the rubble. That's what they're saying in the BBC. Oh, that's absolutely correct. If they're going to rebuild Gaza, I mean, how are they going to do it? They're just going to, we'll just try and use a bit of duct tape and, try and patch things up again, patch things up, patch things back up. I think, well, that's not going to work, is it? Let's face it. It's going to need to be completely cleared out. This is in an unfathomable, unimaginable scale process that is needing to take place there. They're going to have to scoop all of that rubble up. We're talking about tons and tons of this stuff, hundreds of thousands of tons, whatever. And also then you've got to think about the unexploded munitions. Who knows what booby traps will be left lying around, or what chemical weapons could be found left lying around. We have no idea what will be found. I mean, at the end of the day, it's going to take something more than just a little bit of aid being thrown into the country to rebuild Gaza. Sorry, it's not going to work otherwise. It's not going to work, Jeff.
Yes, isn't it strange, though? But you do realise that gaffer tape is the mend-all of everything, don't you? So a few 100 tons of gaffer tape sent across to Gaza, I don't know, maybe you could sort of... No, we all know that that's rubbish. They've got to get right into the ground, and they've got to get into the foundations, and they've got to unearth a lot, because I reckon there's a lot of stuff under there that's... that is going to be extremely dangerous in the coming decades if it isn't all taken out. And having Gazans trying to rebuild basically shanty towns on top of that lot is only going to cause more death, destruction and misery. I think they're right. I think they've got to clear the place out of people. I'm sorry, but this is a sort of a Gordian knot situation. And it's going to take a heavy and very determined sword swipe to cut through it and get right to the bottom of it. And I think Trump may be the answer here. It may not be his exact plan that comes through, but what's got to happen is people have got to have some hope. They've got to have hope. They've got to have hope that their futures and their lives mean something. At the moment, all they can look forward to is more Hamas destruction. More Hamas destruction. That's all they can look forward to while Hamas is there. And that's the big stopper in all of this. The Israelis knew that. The UK government knows that. The US government knows that. Everybody knows that. The only people who don't know it are the pro-Hamas marchers walking up and down London all the time, trying to pretend that they're there, that they're involved. You're not. You don't live there. You don't know what they're going through in reality. And a lot of the killing is internal by Hamas, shutting down anyone who gets in their way while they steal the food aid and all the rest of it. Do you think that if they poured money and food into Gaza, that it would go into rebuilding a lovely, nice area full of trees and roses and little corner shops. No, it would be used to build massive fortresses ready for a re-attack on Israel. That is a pointless exercise. To be honest, something has got to happen. It's got to be big. It's got to be bold. And I think Trump is the right person to do it.
Yeah. I mean, you have to remember that I believe Gaza's received more money, far more money than, it's only a small area, but it's received far more money than Germany did at the end of World War II. And where's all that money gone to? And again, when you think about the infrastructure there, in terms of the tunnels that were built, how safe are those things going to be to build over? I mean, they're going to have to go right throughout that tunnel network and find out what the lay of the land is there. I mean, who knows? There could be huge cavernous, empty areas, and of course they could eventually collapse and lead to massive sinkholes. We don't know, especially after the bombing that's taken place there. And I'm not coming. I want to come at this as well, just mainly from a humanitarian point of view here. For the people of Gaza, this is probably their best option right now, is to leave if they can be relocated. Now, this is important as well, because there are children involved. We have to remember the children. Say, oh, remember the children. Yeah, that's right. Remember the children. They are innocent. And eventually they will be brainwashed by Hamas into hating Jews, just like all the other children. We've all seen the Hamas TV and how they brainwash them. These children are victims from the day they are born, not necessarily of Israel, but definitely of Hamas, right? So these people have to be put somewhere. And we all know that the neighbors, like Jordan and Egypt, are welcoming. We'll welcome them in. Oh, wait, hang on. No. Something needs to be worked out here. They do have to think about this one. Where will they go? Because the Egyptians have shown absolutely no desire to take them, and neither have the Jordanians. So, I mean, goodness knows. Goodness knows. And another point here. You mentioned them marching in London, shouting out from the river to the sea. Okay. Well, you know what they're going to be doing now, don't you? They're going to be demanding. They're going to be even more of these protests in London, demanding that that Britain cuts off diplomatic ties with Israel and with America now. Oh yes. Oh, this is going to be a very interesting period of time there, Jeff. I can tell you now.
Yeah. Now, one of the things that's always puzzled me is there are refugees in Gaza. Actual refugees in Gaza. Right. Now, they started off as 750,000 refugees in about 1950. Do you know how many refugees there are now registered there? Over 5 million. Over 5 million. So what is a refugee? A refugee is someone who has to cross an international border to seek safe haven. But all the people in Gaza, all those refugees, say that Gaza is their home. How can you be a refugee in your home? I just don't understand this. And if it's gone from however many thousand it was to over 5 million today, I would say that is a very, very bad genocide, isn't it? Not very well run, is it? If the number of, I mean, it's ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. But the trouble is that they've been so brainwashed by the Hamas types and and all the rest of it, that they've completely and utterly devoted their entire lives to not being happy people. And surely that they deserve more than that. Surely they deserve to be happy and not just be pawns in someone's personal vendetta. I just find it unbelievable what's been going on. All helped by the UNRWA, whatever it's called, the United Nations. And the whole thing was kicked off in 1948 when Israel said, "We are now Israel." And there was a two-state solution on the table from the UN within Israel. But the first thing that happened was that Israeli cities and settlements and armed forces were attacked by forces from the Arab Liberation Army. And the next thing we know, Arab nations were coming in as well. Lebanon, Syria, Iraq, Egypt, and Saudi Arabia. The trouble is they all lost because Israel won more territory. That was a war. And they won territory. And in the process, Arabs were leaving and going. I mean, why would Israel want them all back so that they could restart an internal war? I find that absolutely ludicrous concept that they would ever be expected to allow that.
Yes.
What do you think?
Well, the whole thing about them being refugees, it's very strange, isn't it, that Gaza was handed to the Palestinian authorities, we'll say, back in, what year was it, Jeff? Was it 2006? 16?
No, it's 2005 they walked out, and then in 2007 they had the internal election and elected Hamas into power, and there has not been an election since.
I think Keir Starmer's taking a few notes from them in that respect for what's coming in May. Yeah, okay. Yep. Yeah. Yeah, so, I mean, this is land that was handed to them. Then they decided to just keep attacking Israel. And then they kept attacking Israel even further, especially with what happened on October the 7th. I mean, that just that blows my mind, that is, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
How an entire nation of people could be cheering what happened there is absolutely disgusting. And don't get me wrong, look, I am on the side of Israel, but at the same time, I have to say, you have to be pretty soulless to not understand that there are innocent people who are being killed in this. And Trump's proposition, let's get back to the point here. Trump's proposition here is the best case scenario. Look, and Trump is right as well. There was some other, there was something else I was going to read out. It's gone now. Basically, it was the BBC basically saying that, that Trump is right on this because decades and decades of diplomacy has not resulted in a peace. Israel taking over the land didn't result in a peace. It being handed over to the Palestinian authorities did not result in a peace. So there is only one other option, really. I suppose that's for a third party to come in and take over. It was mooted for a while that Egypt should go in and take over the Gaza Strip, take it over. There you go. Well, it was mooted about for a while, but they wanted nothing to do with it.
Yeah,
they didn't want it. They didn't want Gaza. So, all right, Trump's come up with a blinder, I have to say. If anyone's going to be able to clear that, have the money, the manpower, the wherewithal to do it, it is Trump. Sorry.
Yeah.
And this is going to upset a lot of people out there. And I understand why a lot of people out there are upset about this, because they just think the poor refugees, blah, blah, blah. This is their homeland. I think, okay. Yeah. But by the way, right, name one king of Palestine.
Yeah.
Please do.
Anyway,
okay. Show me some Palestinian coinage that predates the 1940s. Please show it to me, where it says Palestine's got the head of the king of that area. No such thing exists. Very strange. Mark Twain described what is today Israel as a desert when he walked through those lands. There was nobody about. Yeah. There was nobody there. Sorry, carry on, Jeff.
Yeah, thanks to Randy Noms. Thanks very much for your contribution. Be bold and audacious, gentlemen. Well, I think that's what we've got to be in these days and ages. Right now, we have wound ourselves up into a whole sort of mess, and we need, as I said, a Gordian knot cut to really slice through. And it's not just in Israel. We've got the same problems in the basic running of the European Union, the UK, the US, everywhere. We're all tied up in our own knots. And it's about time now for some real bold, brassy thinking to get out of the mess we're in at the moment. And thank you very much to Jan Robertson. Well done on the Tommy March. Keir must resign. Yeah, thanks very much for that. That was a fun day, except I got this flu while I was there, and I've been suffering a bit ever since. So excuse me while I have to wipe my nose now and again. But yeah,
I've been a bit ill as well, to say the least.
Yeah.
I'm not going into that in any further detail, but it was a bit scary. There we go. Right. Anyway, what else have we got you in comments, Jeff?
Well, what I was just going to go on to is there was a Telegraph report by Jake Wallace-Simons, and he
Right.
quotes an unnamed. Sorry.
I said, right,
Yeah.
carry on. Carry on.
Yeah. He quotes an unnamed friend who is in Gaza right now, someone who I gather lives there, who said, "This is the best solution for the people. Would you want to wait 2 to 5 years just for the rubble to be removed so your house can be rebuilt?" And he also said, "All support for Hamas has evaporated away. They destroyed us for nothing," he said. Now that's telling. Now, he also said that at least 500,000 of them would just sign a document to be taken away to somewhere where they could live in peace and hope for the future. Now, that tells me a lot. I think Hamas have been the ones that have destroyed this whole thing. They've destroyed their own movement completely. They led their people into this war. And I remember that on X, when this kicked off on the 7th, and everybody was watching the Israeli forces, the IDF, gradually moving in. You know, they were getting up ready round the wall to go in and deal with Hamas. And I remember all those Hamas supporters going, "The Israeli Defense Forces will be kicked out within a week." I remember it quite vividly. But they weren't, were they? The IDF won. And Gaza has been left in ruins because of Hamas not surrendering early enough to save their own people, not having the vitamins to put their hands up and hand the hostages over. It's all their fault. All their fault. I have no sympathy with them whatsoever. And I think that the Gazan people do deserve a better life going forward. They may have been on the Hamas side, but I think now they're probably looking at this and going, that was a big mistake.
I wonder the legitimacy of those elections. I'm sorry, Jeff, back in 2007, as you said. I really do. And do you trust anything that, honestly, I find it quite flabbergasting that a lot of people can still, to this day, support in the West, say that Hamas are not a terrorist organization. There are people out there who actually still think that. And they still go on these marches. And I think, wow, okay.
Yeah. Oh, and thanks to Mac Harvey at Randy Noms, I presume that's an answer to something he said. "We always try to be diplomatic. When all else fails, what choice do we have but to be?" I'm not quite sure which way around I meant to read that, to be just diplomatic, or when that fails, what choice do we have? Yeah. So, but thanks very much, Mac. So,
thank you, Mac.
Yes. It's like Iran and Syria. Yeah. Iran and Syria. Well, I must say, I think that since Israel has had to defend itself, there are a lot of people in Iran, Syria, and Lebanon, and in Yemen who wished actually that they hadn't, especially those who were carrying pagers on them at the time, if you remember that one.
Oh, yeah. Was that in Syria? Was that in Lebanon? That was in Lebanon, wasn't it?
That was in Lebanon, mostly, yeah.
I can tell you now, I know a lot of Iranians who, I mean, you just got to look at the amount of Iranians who are supporting Tommy at the moment, okay? It's incredible. You're seeing at these rallies, the United Kingdom rallies, you're seeing Iranian flags, the original Iranian flag, not the modern day one. And what's very interesting, there's plenty of video footage out there of Iranian football matches, and a few people start shouting from the river to the sea and, free Palestine. Yeah. And the rest of the crowd is saying, shut up, go away, you want nothing to do with you. So you're like, oh, so the people of Iran don't actually, en masse, don't actually support Hamas and what's going on there. No, they don't. A lot of them support Israel. They are hoping and praying that Israel goes to Iran and somehow destabilizes the current regime with a few strategic strikes. And that would mean then that they would be able to step in and could be a new revolution because the people of Iran are held hostage, especially the women. For years, I've supported Facebook group called My Stealthy Freedom, where the women are taking off their coverings, we'll say, and facing extreme persecution for it. All right, but this is a country which is held hostage.
Yeah.
A massive case of an entire nation being held hostage, and yet a lot of people start to think to this day, oh well, it's their choice, it's their diplomatic. Oh my goodness, if you knew the real state of the elections in Iran. But anyway, back to point here. A lot of people in the Middle East support Israel because they understand that Israel is the buffer between fundamentalist oppression, okay, and democracy. And so many people want democracy in the Middle East. Except here, of course, you've got your excuse the terminology here, Jeff. There's the white privileged middle class, soy latte guzzling, rainbow t-shirt wearing liberal lefties who turn up at these marches, and they seem to be saying, "Oh no, Israel is." They're basically anti-Semites. We have to remember this. Yeah. If it wasn't for Trump right now, this situation could only get worse and continue for years and years and years.
Yeah. That's the thing. That's exactly the thing. We need someone strong to come in with a massively big, bold plan. And this sounds like it. Now, as Pom says, the issue is that once it's rebuilt, people won't be let back. That is displacement. May be unavoidable and necessary, but it's still displacement. That's one of the issues here. That may be the end result. But what would you rather? Oh, we have to have the rights of people so they can continue the war ad infinitum. And it's a choice that the globe, the planet has got to make. If it's not stopped now, it could... I don't think Trump's actions will lead to world war, but if we leave this lot running, it will eventually anyway. So, oh dear. Sorry, still got the snuffles a bit.
Didums.
Yeah, I got man flu, ladies and gentlemen. Man flu. I've been moaning all day.
No, what other hope is there? What other hope was there for peace in the Middle East? I mean, I do agree though, if this displacement does take place, it would be good if somewhere, it would be preferential, I should say, if somewhere was provided for them. I mean, look, there's so much money in the Arab world, isn't there? Let's face it.
Yeah.
They could just rehouse these people and put them in safe places and in cultures which are compatible with their own. We're not talking about a huge cultural disparity here, are we? So I think it's a win-win for the Gazan people, and give them some money to go with. It'll be cheaper. There's 50 grand each. Off you go. Build a new life, build a better life. It's a better start that is than a lot of people want, than the prospects that a lot of people have in this world right now.
Yeah, and it's comments like this that I dislike. Jeff is clearly a Jew propagandist, just like all other supposed patriots claiming to be on our side, bringing objective truth. I'm trying to bring a solution. The only other solution that the people who are against this sort of thing have is continue to support Hamas and kill Israelis. That's all the answer is to them. And that's the one thing I will never agree with. Anything other than that. And that's what's happening. Yeah. And that's what started this in the first place. Israel was formed in 1948, and there was a budding two-state solution. Only one side wanted that, and they were attacked. They were due to be thrown into the sea. No one believed that Israel could defend itself. They expected them to be thrown into the Med and we could forget them. That's what they expected. That did not happen. They fought back and they won. And that's what upset everybody. So I'm sorry, I totally disagree with you, Jew propagandist. What a load of rubbish. Go away. Anyway, Richard.
Okay. So just going through the comments here. Let's have a look here. Whoever is with Trump and his, oh, here we go. Ashkenazi Jews are very disillusioned. Yes, you stopped short of using the word Zionist there.
Yes,
yeah,
you just
that's when I just go, okay. Sorry if we need to have a rational debate here. Okay. First of all, the land that is Palestine today. Do you know where that name came from? Have you any idea? Do you? Oh, what's that? Oh, no. Oh, okay. I'll tell you. The Romans, as an insult to the people of Judea, okay, which is practically a lot of modern day Israel. All right, they were separated into two major tribes as well. Israel and Judea was technically slightly different. Anyway, that's a long story. But as an insult to the Jews, we'll call them, just to be generic here, the Romans named the land after the Philistines, and that's where Palestine. It's a different way of pronouncing it, we'll say. Okay, and that's where the name came from. That land has always been the Jews. And then, okay, you can go back to Gaza. Gaza's an interesting one because that's where Goliath came from. Did you know that? That's where Goliath and David and Goliath, that's where he came from. So there was a bit of battling going on there. But we're talking about thousands of years ago. And when, in the 1920s and 1930s, going back even before that, I mean, Israel was barren. It was desolate. And when the Jews came back, they breathed life into the place. They turned deserts into beautiful green orchards. They used the land. The world has a lot to thank them for. And they've also acted as a buffer, I have to say, between, how can I word this correctly and politically correctly? Between those that hate us and ourselves. Yeah, they are the buffer zone. Take away Israel, bang, it's straight through. And Colonel Gaddafi warned of this as well, incidentally, as did Saddam Hussein, funny enough. Okay, these were puppets, CIA puppets. We know that, yes. Just like the Ayatollah Khomeini in Iran was a CIA installation, which incidentally Ronald Reagan made mention of and said that we should regret what we did to Iran, to that wonderful country. And they should as well. If you take a look at Iran and Afghanistan, going back 40, 50 years ago, right? Totally different countries. Totally different countries to what we see today. They were secularist. They were not secularist. They were westernized, I should say. And women had a lot more rights then. Jeff.
Yeah. At the end of the day, we live in a real world. We don't live in a perfect world. It's a human world where errors are made and things are done and things are said. But at the end of the day, we have to go for a realistic solution to this. And no realistic solution has come up since Trump arrived here and said, I have got a plan. Everybody else's plan involved this it is now mythical two-state solution. Hamas destroyed that. They have refused it so many times. Their way ahead, their only way ahead, is continued war until Israel is completely eradicated and the Jews are gone. We cannot allow that. They did it. They started it. And if it means removing them from the equation in any form at all, then we've got to do it. And I think Trump's plan is probably the best way to separate the people away from that horrible, nasty organization. Anyway, there you go.
Yeah, there's a comment
I think we've said enough, Richard. I think we've probably said enough on this one.
Yeah, there's one comment earlier. Fallen world, it said. Yes, it is. Yeah. That's what this boils down to. There's only one person who can sort this out, and that's Jesus Christ.
True.
And we need to pray to him, and we need to pray for our own personal sin and the sins of this world. We need to pray for peace. We really do, because if we don't pray for peace, we have then we're not Christians. We need to come together and just believe that, or rather understand that secularism has failed us, and that there was a path. As I said in the video earlier today, Tucker Carlson was 100% correct. Western civilization, what is that? I'll tell you what it is. Tucker Carlson said it. It's Christianity. That's Western civilization. Okay, remember it. And we also use the term our Judeo-Christian heritage for good reason, because our Judeo-Christian heritage is exactly that. Christianity, it was the next step on from Judaism. It is the fulfillment. The New Testament is the fulfillment of the Old Testament. Christ came to fulfill the law. So, there we go.
Yeah.
Anyway, Jeff, we got some super chats there.
Yeah. Thanks to Shay Ragnarsson, this problem started in 70 AD, and still we are here.
Yes, it did.
Yep.
Yes,
it's a long-term thing.
Yeah, that's when, unfortunately, the Romans kicked the Jews out of Israel or Judea. Yeah.
Yeah. And I can't pronounce that name, but thanks very much. There are literal mass killings of Palestine refugees in Syria, not Israel.
Yes.
Anyone can see the reports on Google, including UNRWA, but no protest.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's only when the Jews are
as ever. It's just Jews bad, everyone else, anyone who supports them bad. And that's it. That's as far as the argument goes. That's why I get very passionate about this, because it is they try to use a one-sided argument, when in actual fact, the truth is completely the opposite of the way they put it. But there you go.
Yes.
Anyway, I shall now say I think we've upset enough people.
We always do, Jeff. Quickly before we go, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and click the all option once you've subscribed, because there are some very strange things going on right now algorithmically with YouTube, and we do need your help on that. So please do click the all option when you on the subscribe button after you've clicked that. And then you get a notification every time we put up a new video. And listen, God bless you all, and I mean that. Whatever side, look, we understand this is a very heated debate about Israel and Palestine, because yes, a lot of people have lost their lives on both sides, and we must pray for healing. Only through Christ can we be reunified as one, as a not just a people, but as mankind, humanity coming together. Only through Christ. He is the way, the truth, and the light, the life, and the light. So, I mean, it's our choice. Come on, people. Get to church. That's important. And pray. Okay, God bless you all.
And on that note, it's good afternoon, or now good evening from me.
And it's good evening from him. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.